Achieving high testosterone naturally. So there's two major steps to achieve high testosterone, which we are about to cover. However, the third step is going to be like adding gasoline to our fire. But it's very important that we cover the two main steps first because they are the foundation of achieving high testosterone naturally. So why should you listen to me? You should listen to me because I've got this transformation right here that I've achieved myself, on myself, ugly boy to Greek god. And then also I've studied testosterone a very long time. So as you can see, I've got a book on testosterone right here. I've got one right here. Then I've got one on DHT all the way up the top there, which you cannot see. I've also got a couple things here. Got another book on testosterone here. And this is full of study on testosterone. Before we continue, you must understand one thing about testosterone, and it is that the longer you have testosterone for, the stronger the testosterone effects are going to become. So every single day you wake up, the more testosterone you have, the more testosterone that is going to be used up on your features, traits, and characteristics. So you must understand, in order to attain the high testosterone features, traits, and characteristics, you need to first sustain testosterone for a prolonged period of time. You're not going to go from low testosterone to high testosterone and then instantly see the physical traits and features manifest on your body. Or, you're not going to instantly grow a beard. You're not going to instantly see your jawline just protrude out. That's not how it works. So you have to sustain this high testosterone for a prolonged period of time so that those effects can develop themselves over time. It's just that these effects are going to become much stronger and they're going to grow much faster and to much stronger places when you have high testosterone. So, just to quickly cover, what are the high testosterone features, traits, and characteristics? So, as you can see, obviously they build muscle and give you very low fat. Testosterone builds muscle and gives you very low fat because it's anabolic, which means it has a massive effect on, it's primarily anabolic, testosterone, which means it has a massive effect on muscle mass, strength, etc. And low fat. Also, fat distribution is going to be much more masculinized, which means fat is only going to get distributed in areas that are preferential for males. For example, if you have high testosterone, you're not going to get your fat distributed around here because that's more of a feminine area to have your fat distributed to. So next is a beard. So you're obviously going to see facial hair growth. Next, we have facial structure. So jawline, cheekbones, and your skull in general is going to become much more masculinized, a way stronger and thicker skull, and that includes a stronger jawline and stronger cheekbones. Then obviously the fat distribution kind of works in sync with the stronger skull development to make those cheekbones and the jawline and the facial structure really protrude. Then next we have vascularity. This is because in order to have high testosterone, you need exceptional blood flow, healthy blood flow, because testosterone and cholesterol, which cholesterol is the precursor for testosterone, which essentially just means before it turns into testosterone, it's cholesterol. So cholesterol turns into testosterone. And both testosterone and cholesterol travel in the blood. So if you think about it, in order to have high testosterone, you need very good blood flow in order to optimize the testosterone transport around the body. Next, we have Darth Vader. So deep voice, of course, when you have good testosterone levels. And then we have a picture of a stoic, which just represents self-control. So testosterone affects areas within the brain that are responsible for emotional regulation. There's testosterone receptors in those areas, and therefore the more testosterone you have, the more the testosterone is going to act on those receptors within those areas that are responsible for emotional regulation. And therefore the more masculinized those brain areas are going to become. Then we have a picture of Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. This just represents willingness to be aggressive, which is very important. Willingness to be aggressive pretty much determines confidence, and it's also a very good evolutionarily advantageous trait. If we look in the animal kingdom, your willingness to be aggressive would affect whether your females are going to get taken, whether your food's going to get taken, so ultimately your survival. So next we have a Spartan leader. Just this represents fearlessness, because testosterone rewires you to feel not. So when you feel anxiety, when you have high testosterone, that anxiety is going to change into excitement, and that's how testosterone rewires your body to feel anxiety. It turns into excitement. This is why, for example, when we look in the wild, you'll see lions who average around 1,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone. You will see them literally fighting to the death, and they're standing there wagging their tails. And wagging tail means that an animal is excited. So now we've gone over the traits and characteristics, just a few by the way, there's many more. So what are the two main things when it comes to increasing testosterone? Well, firstly, we need the correct vitamins, minerals, and nutrients to ensure we are capable of having high amounts of testosterone produced. So the first step is the high testosterone diet. So the high testosterone diet, there are many foods that are great for testosterone, and the general rule of thumb is to just eat natural foods. So don't eat, man-made microwave meals, processed foods, junk foods, takeaways, all of this stuff. Only eat foods that are natural, that are one ingredient. Like, for example, a piece of steak, that's one thing, it's one ingredient, and it's natural, it's from an animal. But before we go any further on that, so that is pretty much all you need to follow, by the way. However, below, I'm going to give you the exact foods that you must ensure that you eat every single day. So there's two. Number one is eggs. Not only do eggs contain lots of amazing nutrients that are important for testosterone, but they contain one of the primary hormones needed, which is cholesterol. And cholesterol is the foundation of your testosterone, because cholesterol gets turned into testosterone. Therefore, the more cholesterol you have, the more testosterone you can have. I've even noticed a difference recently going from 7 eggs a day to 8 eggs a day in the effects of testosterone. So my energy's been higher, I've been less tired, and they're the primary effects that I felt within the space of about a week of going from 7 eggs to 8 eggs. And that's probably because of the increase in cholesterol and therefore the increase in testosterone. So eggs are a very important food to ensure that you're having in your diet every single day if you want high testosterone. Now, secondly is red meat. And to keep it nice and simple for you, red meat contains near to all of the nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that our body needs, let alone needs for testosterone. And just a little PS here, lions live off just red meat, and as I stated earlier, they have just 1,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone, and they live off just red meat. Therefore, red meat clearly supplies everything that is needed to optimize testosterone production. So these are pretty much the only two foods that you need to ensure you are consuming on a daily basis to optimize your testosterone production. However, feel free to include any other foods as long as they're natural. I eat a ton of fruit, as I've put here. For example, I snack on a load of fruit, especially grapes and bananas, and I drink a lot of goat's milk as well. And yeah, you can just eat as much as you want as long as it's all natural. Because the thing is, even when you go to eat as much as you want, you're eventually going to get to the point where you're going to stop if you're just eating natural foods, because they're not addictive in the same way that processed foods are addictive. However, grapes can sometimes be a bit addictive, but eventually you're going to stop. You're not going to eat any kind of natural food past the point where you're just completely stuffed. You're not going to do that because they don't contain the same chemicals and substances that actually cause you to do that with processed, fake, man-made foods. Now, as we stated earlier on, it is important we are able to sustain high testosterone. Therefore, we must ensure the diet we choose is sustainable long term. This is very important. because a lot of people don't actually enjoy all of these natural foods. So how can we make a diet we enjoy that also gives us high testosterone so that we can sustain it? There's many ways, and this is how I would do it. So creating a high testosterone diet that I enjoy. The first part is going to involve adding other ingredients and or foods to mix with the natural high testosterone foods to make them more enjoyable. Even if they're bad processed ingredients, it's much better than not sustaining the diet at all. For example, sometimes I will have beans with my eggs because I really don't like eating eight plain eggs on their own every day for a year. I'm not a fan of eggs, I don't really like them that much. But when I add beans with my eggs, it's actually very nice and enjoyable. Therefore, if it's nice and enjoyable, that's sustainable forever because I like it. It's sustainable forever for the rest of my life. Now, the important thing to watch is that the idea here is to try and add foods or ingredients that aren't too bad. Beans aren't too bad. So another example, sometimes I will have, this is a very recent one that I started, I'll have sourdough toasted, make a steak sandwich rather than just eating the steak on its own. And sometimes I'll add cheese in it. Fucking amazing. Um, I had it like a couple days ago. I literally just discovered it a couple days ago, but I'm going to start doing it more often because sourdough really isn't that bad. There's even some benefits from sourdough for testosterone. And then cheese, of course, isn't too bad either. So you can see how these foods, they're not too bad. If you were saying that you're adding chicken nuggets and french fries to the steak, okay, then I'd say, okay, you don't want to do that. But when you're just adding something that isn't that bad, like cheese, like tomatoes, not tomatoes, like beans, like cheese, like sourdough, is not going to affect you that much. So feel free to steal my meals that I just mentioned or come up with your own to make it enjoyable. Just make sure that you're eating eggs and red meat every day and not eating anything that's extremely bad like processed cereals, meats, pastries, french fries, etc. But what if I love pastries and cereal and chicken nuggets? Don't worry, because this is where the second part comes in. This is my favorite part. Cheat days. Yes. You can achieve high testosterone whilst having cheat days. And the best thing about this is the more that you do this, so the longer you stick to this diet that I'm now giving you, this diet, kind of like diet plan, the longer you stick to this, the more bored and unattached you're going to become to like processed foods and all the unhealthy foods. So the easier it's going to become to minimize the unhealthy foods. And then eventually you're going to get to the point where I'm at right now, where I can do this now without a cheat day. I can do this now without a cheat day because I'm genuinely not that interested in food anymore. And that's the point that you're aiming to get to. But what you're doing by implementing this is you're skipping that really painful segment of having to resist all the nice foods. You're skipping the pain of having to resist those and eat shit that you don't even want to eat. And so instead of going through that pain, you're just taking a little bit longer to implement the diet, which is okay. It's going to take a little bit longer, but you're still going to enjoy it because that pain is also what would probably stop you and therefore prevent you from succeeding at what we're trying to achieve. So by skipping that pain, it may make it take a little longer, but if you didn't skip it in the first place, you probably wouldn't have even succeeded because there just would have been too much pain and it would have eventually prevented you from continuing, which is what happens with almost everyone today when they try and diet to lose weight. So just speaking from a statistic basis, most of the people watching this video right now would probably fail if they just went straight in and went for a strict diet off the back. So that's why this is important. So cheat days. And in brackets, I've put I have a cheat day every week, which is true. So not only can you modify the diet to make it more enjoyable as mentioned above, but you can also implement a cheat day once a week at the most. So a cheat day is where you literally eat whatever you want with zero limits and you can fulfill all your cravings and temptations that you had during the week. So you will modify your diet to ensure you enjoy the meals whilst including the high testosterone foods, and you will implement a cheat day once a week. This is going to help you so much to stay consistent. Now remember, your aim here is to try and slowly reduce the amount of bad foods you're using to sustain this diet over time. This is going to make it nice and easy for you to slowly adapt your body to these new foods you will be eating for high testosterone. What's the second most important part of achieving high testosterone? Your environment. Your environment must demand a testosterone increase. Why do you think so many men have low testosterone levels today? Because their lifestyle and their environment does not require high testosterone levels in order to succeed. So what kind of environment is going to require a testosterone increase in order to be successful? Well, firstly, we need to define success. Success is referring to the most optimal reproduction. So this means reproduction with the highest quality of the highest quality, and survival, in brackets, not dying. So this might be a bit confusing for you right now. This isn't a generally known concept for increasing testosterone. But if you didn't know, testosterone's primary purpose is to ensure that you are successful reproductively and carry your genetics on. The higher quality of women that you are able to attract and reproduce with, the higher chance your offspring has of achieving the same goal and carrying the genetics on further. Then, of course, not dying is crucial for you to reproduce. So if you put yourself in an environment where your testosterone needs to increase in order for you to, one, survive, or two, attract and therefore reproduce with the females within your environment, then your testosterone is going to increase as a consequence. And this is why in most male animals, testosterone significantly increases during mating seasons, because they need higher testosterone to outcompete all the other males and attract the females. Because if you didn't know, testosterone basically is responsible for the entirety of attraction within men. So all the attractive features, traits, and characteristics are developed by testosterone. The more testosterone you have, speaking on natural levels, by the way, the more natural testosterone you have, the more those attractive traits, characteristics, and features are going to be developed. Therefore, the more attractive you are going to become. So the reason testosterone makes you more muscular, it makes you stronger, makes you faster, makes you more coordinated, makes you more fearless and less anxious and more confident and more brave and more willing to take risk and more willing to be aggressive and increases your capacity for aggression. The reason it does all this is to make you capable, and is to make you capable of outcompeting and physically overpowering other males. But ultimately, that's just a vehicle that it's using in order to attract females. So, where are the environments? Let me just go back here. So there's two environments we need to demand an increase in testosterone. Not that we need, but that you can use. These are environment ideas that will demand an increase in testosterone. If you can think of any environments that you can put yourself in where you need your testosterone to increase in order to survive and reproduce, then comment if anyone can think of any ideas, because that would actually be interesting to see. So for me, firstly, the gym. The gym is the most practical environment that we can put ourselves in every day, where we can put ourselves through the most pain by training extremely hard with heavy weights to failure. Now, just a quick thing that I want you to understand here is that the body interprets pain as like you're edging closer and closer to death. So the body's going to adapt any way it has to in order to try and do what it can to avoid pain. So the magnitude of the pain that you put on your body will determine the speed and the strength of which your body is going to adapt. So this is why it's important to train as hard as you can, to failure as much as you can, and stay in failure as long as you can. Because that's obviously, in the gym, the most painful position you can put yourself in. And as we just explained, the magnitude of pain determines the speed and the strength of which your body will adapt. So then, in order to ensure survival, because as I just stated, our body's going to interpret that pain as you're getting close to death. So in order to ensure that we survive, our body is going to adapt to ensure we survive. And how is it going to adapt? It's going to adapt by making us stronger. And so how does the body make us stronger physically? It makes us stronger by increasing our muscle mass, increasing our strength, which it does by increasing testosterone, because testosterone is anabolic and has significant effects on muscle and strength. So this is, although it may sound complex and long-winded, essentially one of the best ways to increase testosterone production. Now, there's a second one that I mentioned. So secondly, you want to ensure you are in the presence of attractive women at least once a day. This will signal to your body that it must become more attractive in order to attract them and reproduce. And how does your body become more attractive? As stated many times throughout this video, it produces more testosterone. This is even more effective if there's other men and attractive women, because your body perceives those men as competition and increases testosterone even more, because it knows in order to attract the females, you must outcompete the men. That's a general equation of life, right? Because the social hierarchy determines your attraction. Your position within the social hierarchy determines your attraction. And the way that you get higher in the social hierarchy is literally by outcompeting men. That's it. The man that outcompetes every other man is the most attractive man. And this is the same reason that testosterone increases in animals during mating seasons, as mentioned earlier, because its body knows that in order to attract the females, it must outcompete the other males. And to outcompete the other males, it must increase testosterone. Now, for the final part, to add the gasoline to the fire to supercharge our testosterone production, very important, is two practices: fasting and semen retention. So rather than going through them again in this video, because I've done a video previously on them, I'm going to share with you a video I've done previously on both of these practices, explaining everything that you need to know about them and how to implement them. So check the link in the description to get this video and supercharge your testosterone production. And really quickly, before you go, I've also put together a PDF explaining this exact video step by step, so you can have a written document to help you know exactly what to do every single day to increase your testosterone, rather than having to constantly come back to this video and, you know, scroll to each little bit and check when I said what I said, etc. So if you want it, there will be a free newsletter where I will give free advice out every single day on testosterone. And if you sign up for that, I'll send this free PDF to you straight away. So just go sign up for that newsletter. It's going to be in the description of this video, along with the video on fasting and semen retention. And when you sign up to that newsletter, you'll instantly get this PDF sent to you so that you can have it with you for life, so that you know how to maximize testosterone for life.